So I promised to calm down with the new projects. Not going to happen anyway. So here's the. I don't know if you recognize this board. This is the 4-speed board from the Universal Motors. But someone actually, multiple people asked if I can sell this separately, and I was thinking, how could I actually do that? Because I pretty much need to assemble most of the system to quality control these, depending on what connectors they have. So I have extra one, no. But the way I am assembling this at the moment is I'm soldering these sorter pin headers here and then coating with the lacquer conformal coating. So that's also because it's much easier to solder to the connector pins than to the actual board if you have to make really good quality solders. And if soldering directly to the board, then there's an issue with the defluxing. So there's the solder flux needs to be removed after soldering so that it doesn't corrode the board. But if some wires are soldered to the board afterwards, then I can, and the soldering points need to be defluxed to protect the board so that it doesn't corrode from the flux residue, then I can apply the conformal coating and I can test the board fully either. So that's why I'm nowadays making this so that I'm soldering these tiny pin headers here. That's not a DuPont header, it's much smaller. But I'm soldering those here, then coating the board, then soldering the wires to the connector pins and not to the board. This also allows if you are using low quality solder wire or not used to soldering precise stuff, then it's much easier to solder to the pins, and you can actually undo this solder and repeat it if needed. If soldering directly to the board, it may be very difficult or sometimes impossible to repeat the solder if you make a mistake. So this is much safer, but I could sell the boards with the pin headers attached, and then someone could make the rest of the system, but I was thinking that it's not that much work to just connect this motor drive and Chinese-made PLDC board and some test switches. You can use these for final device if you are making some prototype, but you don't have to, but I can just solder this stuff for you. And then it's very easy to test for me, and then you don't need to figure out all the connections, and most importantly, I don't need to mark them to anywhere if I am connecting them here, because I'm just connecting the wires, because these boards are made so that I'm just checking stuff from the plans if I need. So there's no, for example, what is positive and what is negative power input. I don't need to mark them to the board because I'm always checking from the plans, but if someone else is soldering these together, then it may be pretty stressful situation if you don't know which pin is which, and if you make a mistake, you will absolutely burn this board to pieces. So I need to buy another one if I would still sell them even. So you don't want to make mistake on the connections, and thus it might be much easier and safer if I am assembling this stuff for you, not installing this to any casing, but just connecting the boards together. And because it doesn't need the casing and it's much easier to assemble because it's not in the casing, it's just connecting wires together, then this would be much cheaper than readily built motor. You will need to do some work, but it works just the same than the normal 4-speed motor, which is where I have it. It's basically this motor, but without the casing and much longer wires. So you can't remove the boards from this casing without breaking something, and the motor. You will need to cut the wires and then figure out how to connect them together. And this is not meant to be for disassembling. But there's, you can see the pace switch. I added the green switch for pace, and there's the black switch for start and stop. So normal motor, we have start stop here, and we have start stop test button on this system here. And you can just sort the wires or make them longer and change the switches and everything. I don't care much about what you are actually doing with this kit, as long as you add some marking to the front panel or somewhere that the crystal system is made by me. So the motor was not made by me. It can join those motor design, but you have to add some mention that it's my crystal sync board, which it uses the 4-speed board. So it saves so much time for me that I would actually want to make more of these. I made 2 already, but I can just make 20 if you want. Most of the time goes to finishing and testing the circuit board, and the rest of the stuff is pretty easy. And I could sell this if you buy multiple ones. I could sell you just the boards or motors, but I think you will want to buy it in this form, so that you can just connect the wires to battery and start running it. Start running tests with your camera. There's no difference to these are the actual boards I use on the 4-speed motors. It's just separate and not installed in the casing. There's so much light that it's difficult to see that one. All the speeds work and everything. Yeah. So and this is much faster for me to test this than the final motor. So I'm saving so much work that this is much more affordable than this one. This normal price is $650, and I don't know, maybe if you order one, then it's something like $400 maybe, but if you order 2, then it's something, and it's and I may have some kind of campaign where you order early and wait for long, and then I have lots of time to assemble these when I have some spare moment, and then they are even cheaper. So I will make a couple of these, and the idea is that you can design your own motor. You don't have to order readily made motor from me. You can just take fully working crystal sync electronics and connect it to the motor drive, and then design your own casing. And if you want to design something like this or or for the MPR or some special camera which I don't even have here, and then just you can just experiment with this and move it between different cameras. And if you buy this kit, I often can offer extra motor drive if you want for reduced price. So this one seems to work. I will test this fully, but it does work. So yeah. So it's possible to order this, but I don't know when I will have more time to assemble this. So you can order them, and then I will calculate some estimate when I can ship them, and it may be earlier or tiny bit later, but it also affects the price. So if you order this in January and need it in August, for example, it's much cheaper than if you need it in February, for example. So there's some possibilities, but this is, you can imagine, I connected some kind of cheap switches already, so there's only battery wires, and you need to connect, and then this already works in Crystal Sync, so you can just concentrate on your motor casing design and tests, and then after those are done and you have figured out what kind of control panel you have and everything, then you can maybe order another kit, and then you can, for example, ask for shorter wires, or if you want that I will just solder these wires to the circuit board but don't connect to other end or something. Or if you want to buy 10 of these, then they are so much cheaper. I just want to know how much you need in total, and what is the schedule and payment schedule, and when do you need the boards, and do you need all of them at the same time, or one at a time, or one now, one 10 after the summer or something. So, but this system is available. This is going to one customer for tests, and another one will go to another customer. So I'm hoping I can concentrate on this kind of setups more and less on this kind of setups, because I like making these, but maybe it's just that this is much faster and easier to put together. So maybe I would like to make more of stuff. Making 20 motors is nicer than making 5, but these are pretty neat still, so I will make both. So yes, you can ask me about this, and maybe around 400 or something like that. I will figure it out later this month, but it's not expensive. And if you need less assembled stuff than this is, then of course it costs less, but there might be some risks if you, for example, want to solder these pin headers by yourself. So we can figure it out. But yes, you can ask for this, and if you want to make your own camera motor, at least all the casing parts, and just need something readily working for the electronics. So this is the same system than this one has. This just doesn't have the casing.